The Grand Ballroom is dressed in white linen and amber light when Martin Vale walks onto my stage with another client and says, "Claire, you booked the wrong night." Behind him, 6 people wearing Alden medical badges stand beside rolling production cases. Our sold-out Harbor House gala opens in 42 minutes. Martin welcomes them as if the room belongs to them, then points at 400 place settings. "Start clearing this," and apologize to Caroline for the confusion. My red banquet pencil snaps between my fingers. I didn't book the wrong night. Claire. His smile warns me not to make this worse. Caroline Shaw, Alden's event director, studies the sponsor wall, the auction screens, then Martin. She opens a leather folio and lays a signed event order on the nearest table. "Grand Ballroom," she reads. "Tonight. Approved exception." Beside those words is Martin's signature. Caroline looks from her order to mine. "Which of us did you override?" Martin reaches for her document. She keeps one hand on it. "No," she says calmly. "Identify the approval in front of both clients." His smile finally moves. Caroline taps the signature line. "Boss, read your override." For one strange second, all I can hear is ice dropping into silver tubs in the east foyer. Martin looks at me. That is the part I will remember later. Not the double booking, not the snapped pencil, not even the lie. The way he looks at me as if we are still sharing a secret I never agreed to keep. Then the service door bangs open, and Theo Grant backs into the ballroom carrying a tray of champagne flutes. He turns, sees Martin, Caroline, the Alden crew, and Nadia Brooks from Harbor House standing beside the stage. Theo stops. Okay, either the sponsor list got aggressive or I missed a meeting. Nobody answers him. Nadia picks up Caroline's event order. She is wearing a deep green jumpsuit and one gold earring. The other one is probably in her office beside the seating chart tape and the antacids. For 4 months, I have watched her talk donors out of bad ideas without ever making them feel corrected. Now her face has gone perfectly still. "What is Alden Medical doing here?" she asks. Martin straightens his cuffs. "We have an internal scheduling issue." A scheduling issue is when the florist arrives at the north entrance. This is another event. I'm handling it. "You just told Claire to dismantle my gala. I said we may need to make adjustments." "You said she booked the wrong night," Caroline says. Martin gives her the patient expression he uses when a client starts reading a contract aloud. And I understand why this looks concerning. Caroline's mouth twitches. That's a luxurious word for it. I take her event order and set it beside mine. The pages are almost identical. Briarwood logo, client contact, event date, expected attendance, meal guarantee, room assignment. Mine has been revised 7 times. Her copy is revision 2. At the bottom of her first page, under Space Exception Authorization, someone has typed, "Existing soft hold may be displaced at management discretion." Martin has signed below it in blue ink. The language is wrong in 3 separate ways. Harbor House was never a soft hold. Its deposit cleared in January. The agreement moved to definite status the same afternoon. And by the date printed beside Martin's signature, the ballroom had already been definite for 68 days. I know because I had sent him the pickup report that morning with a yellow note stuck to it. Gala sold out, need fire marshal count before adding sponsors. He had written "nice work" C across the note and left it on my keyboard. My broken pencil is still in my palm. A bright red line crosses my skin. "Claire," Martin says, lower now. "Can I speak with you privately?" "No," Nadia says. He turns to her. "This is a personnel matter. It became my matter when you tried to remove 400 place settings." Theodore eases the tray onto a service stand. "Those aren't coming off quickly, by the way, just from a physics perspective." Martin cuts him a look. Theo raises both hands. Flutes are parked. Physics remains neutral. Caroline pulls out her phone. "My first truck is at your dock. My staging vendor is 10 minutes behind it. I have 286 guests arriving at 7. Our doors open at 6:30, Nadia says. "Dinner is at 7:15? Caroline looks at her. My program begins at 7:20. The two women turn toward Martin. For the last 11 months, I have watched him save events other managers would have buried under policy. He once found a kosher prep team at midnight after a caterer contaminated an entire kitchen. He can calculate bar consumption faster than our software. He knows the conservatory's eastern circuit overheats if a band plugs into it, and he never forgets which donors hate being seated near the kitchen. That competence is what makes the signature so much worse. He knows exactly what he sold. We can discuss compensation, he says. Right now, I need my operations team to create options. My operations team. 40 minutes earlier, I had been competent enough to coordinate a sold-out charity gala in his ballroom. Now I am his operations team because both clients have seen his name. I slide the two orders apart. Alden, what are your hard requirements? Martin's head turns. Claire. Caroline answers me. General session for 286. Stage, 2 projection screens, dinner, awards. Our keynote needs a private green room. We have a reception from 6:15 to 7. Pipe and drape? On the second truck. Rigged lighting? Ground supported. No ceiling points. Kitchen? Same menu your chef approved. Nadia steps closer. Claire, our guests are already parking. I know. The ballroom smells like roses, coffee, and the faint electrical heat of the auction monitors. Harbor House's silent auction fills the east foyer. The west gallery is empty except for 3 wrapped sofas and a row of renovation lamps. Beyond it, through double glass doors, the conservatory waits under its new steel beams. The flooring passed inspection 2 days ago. Housekeeping finished the windows that morning. It is not a ballroom. It is also the only room on the property that can hold nearly 300 seated adults without putting a table in a hallway. I look at Theo. What's the conservatory's banquet maximum with a 12x16 stage? 270 on rounds. Classroom? 300 and change. Caroline shakes her head. Dinner is in the contract. Crescents? She considers it. Half-round tables would face the stage, seat fewer people per table, and leave their backs open for service. Maybe. Theo is already doing the math against his palm. 288 if we steal the narrow rounds from Juniper and use banquet chairs instead of the new ones. The Juniper rounds are set for the Keating dinner tomorrow, I say. They don't need them tonight. Martin steps between us. The conservatory is not released for client events. It passed its temporary certificate. It hasn't been marketed. Caroline looks around at the fully dressed gala. You marketed this room twice. I think we can survive a room you haven't marketed once. Nadia makes a sound that could be a cough. Martin's jaw tightens. The conservatory has no dedicated pre-function space. The West Gallery, I say. Alden opens its reception there. Harbor House keeps the East foyer. We separate the loading route with pipe and drape and put security at the service intersection. The West Gallery is full of furniture. 6 sofas and 12 lamps. Wrapped sofas, Theo adds. Very cooperative. Martin ignores him. The conservatory also has no permanent sound system. Caroline points toward her cases. I brought one. For the first time, Martin looks cornered. Not defeated. Cornered is more dangerous. Defeated people think about what they have lost. Cornered people look for something softer than themselves. His eyes land on me again. You're proposing we place a medical leadership event in an unfinished room, he says. I'm proposing we let both clients choose between a workable recovery and a public fight in a fully finished one. Watch your tone. Nadia takes my broken pencil from my hand and sets both pieces on the table. Her tone is saving your evening. A radio crackles at my hip. Claire, this is Doc. I have an Alden truck blocking Harbor House Floral. Who takes priority? Every person in the ballroom hears it. I press the button. Hold both. No unloading until I'm downstairs. Martin reaches for his own radio. Alden unloads. No, I say. His eyebrows rise. The doc feeds the ballroom and conservatory through the same service corridor. If Alden unloads before we mark separate staging zones, Harbor House loses access to its dessert refrigeration, and both crews jam the freight elevator. I know how my doc works. Then you know why the answer is hold both. Caroline closes her folio. I'm going downstairs with Claire. So am I, Nadia says. Martin gives a short laugh. We don't need a field trip. Caroline slips the signed order under her arm. I'm not letting this document out of my sight, and I'm not letting my equipment into your building until I know where it's going. Theo picks up his tray again. I'll find someone less essential to carry glassware. You are someone less essential, Martin says. Theodore's expression changes by half an inch. I feel it because I know him. Theo has worked at the Briarwood for 14 years. He can balance 8 covered plates up one arm and talk a furious best man out of climbing onto a chandelier. He has forgiven Martin for canceled vacation days, impossible guarantees, and one memorable winter banquet where the heat failed, and Martin told the staff to call the guests' coats seasonal decor. Theo looks at the ballroom floor, then at me. I'll meet you at the dock, he says. As we move toward the service corridor, Martin catches my elbow. Not hard, he's too careful for that. Private, he says. Nadia stops at the door. I nod to her once. 2 minutes. She looks at my arm until Martin releases it, then follows Caroline out. The ballroom doors close behind them. The auction screens cycle to a photograph of last year's Harbor House honorees. Every face on stage looks bright and certain. Martin walks me behind the pipe and drape line near the service bar. You need to get control of yourself, he says. I'm trying to get control of 2 events. You contradicted me in front of clients. You blamed me in front of clients. I gave you a lane out. I stare at him. An apology was my lane out? A scheduling error can be corrected. A management override becomes a contract dispute. You signed it. I signed an exception presented to me by sales. There is no sales signature. That doesn't mean there wasn't a conversation. Was there? He glances toward the closed doors. Alden came to us with a serious piece of business. Harbor House had a history of soft guarantees. We collected their full deposit. Their attendance was at 2:40 when Alden approached us. And we were already definite. You're getting trapped in labels. Definite is not a label. It means we stop selling the room. His nostrils flare, then settle. He is good at settling. It is one of the reasons people trust him after he has frightened them. We needed the revenue, he says. The renovation ran over. Alden is not one dinner. They're considering us for a 3-year regional contract. So you sold them the ballroom. I authorized sales to keep the conversation alive while I worked on moving Harbor House. Nadia says you never asked her to move. I planned to present an attractive alternative. When? He looks past me at the clock mounted beside the service bar. That is answer enough. You thought their gala wouldn't sell out, I say. You thought you could move them after final count. I thought you could help me manage a fluid situation. There it is, the secret he thought we shared. For months, Martin has praised me for fixing things before clients notice. A missing linen shipment becomes an intentional mix of textures. A broken freight elevator becomes a staffed hand carry protocol. A sales promise nobody priced becomes a complimentary enhancement, and later, Martin tells me I have leadership instincts. He never asked how many of those rescues required someone to tell me the truth first. You saw the sponsor wall, I say. What? The date beside your signature was last Thursday. You borrowed the ballroom key for an Alden walkthrough last Thursday. His gaze sharpens. I remember the brass tag on my desk, Grand stamped into it, and Martin spinning it once around his finger before saying he wanted to show a prospective client the sightlines. The sponsor wall had been standing on the stage because Nadia's photographer needed advance shots. He had walked Alden through a room already carrying Harbor House's name. I tour prospects every week, he says. You knew. What I know is that you have 40 minutes to prove you're as good as I've told everyone you are. And if I do, his voice softens, then tonight becomes a recovery story. Everyone looks reasonable. Everyone gets paid. We discuss your next step here when the dust settles. The director of events position has been open for 3 months. He sees me register it. Of course he does. Then he pats the edge of the service bar once, like we have concluded a productive coaching session. Go save the night, Claire. At the loading dock, 2 trucks idle nose to nose under the porte cochere, while 4 vendors argue around a pallet of white roses. Theo has placed bright yellow caution cones down the middle of the concrete and labeled one side Harbor with blue painter's tape. The other says Alden. Caroline stands beside him, reading the conservatory capacity sheet. Nadia is on her phone telling someone the gala has not been canceled. Theo hands me a fresh red grease pencil. Physics offered a replacement, he says. I take it. Behind us, Martin enters the dock and begins telling both crews that the hotel has everything under control. I put the pencil to the floor plan and draw the first red line between his 2 events. The first red line sends Harbor House's floral carts straight to the ballroom. The second routes Alden staging through the west receiving door. I circle the freight elevator and write, no cases, 6:10 to 6:35. We'll hand-carry auction desserts during that window, I tell Theo. Alden gets the elevator for stage decks. Theo leans over the floor plan. I need 12 housemen. You have 7. I had 7 before someone invented a second event. Martin is close enough to hear him. Call the agency. The agency needs a 4-hour minimum, Martin says. Then call payroll and tell them to approve it. His expression tightens. You're not authorized to approve premium labor. Caroline folds the conservatory capacity sheet and puts it into her folio. My contract requires a ready room by 6:15. If premium labor gets me one, add it to the recovery cost. Martin gives her a wounded look. We're already absorbing considerable expense here. You're not absorbing it. You're experiencing it. Theo turns away so quickly, I know he is smiling. I call the agency. The next 90 minutes move with the vicious clarity of a kitchen fire. There is no room for interpretation because every choice becomes a cart, a cable, a person, or a blocked doorway. We strip the wrapped sofas from the west gallery and roll them into juniper. Caroline's production crew lays black carpet over the conservatory threshold. Theo finds 24 half-round tables in 3 different storage rooms, 6 of them still wearing dust covers from a pharmaceutical luncheon in March. Housekeeping wipes construction grit from their legs, while banquet servers tie charcoal sashes around mismatched chairs. Alden's lighting technician runs an orange extension toward the eastern wall. Not that circuit, I say. He keeps moving. It's a 20 amp. It behaves like a 12 when the window heaters kick on. The heaters aren't on. They come on automatically when the glass drops below 68. He checks the thermostat, then looks at the 40-foot wall of windows cooling under a darkening sky. Where's your clean power? West service closet. Theo has the key. Martin hears the exchange and steps in. The eastern circuit passed inspection. The technician unplugs the cable. Passing inspection and holding a keynote are different hobbies. He reroutes the line. At 6:21, rain starts drumming on the dock canopy. Harbor House's last floral cart is already inside, but Alden still has 2 cases of tableware outside the west receiving door. The covered route from that door to the gallery ends 12 feet short of the entrance. Martin tells the crew to move quickly. Caroline looks at the rain blowing sideways across the gap. Those cases contain our awards. They're sealed. They contain etched glass. We have towels. I get the catering tent company on the phone. Their truck is still 3 blocks away after dropping Harbor House's entrance canopy. They can turn around and give us 2 12-foot sidewalls, but the driver needs written approval for the added charge. Martin says, no. Nadia, standing under the dock light with her remaining gold earring now gone, takes the phone from me. This is Nadia Brooks. Add it to Harbor House's invoice. I blink at her. She holds up one finger to stop me. Then credit the identical amount as a venue concession. Caroline looks at Martin. That works for Alden. The driver turns around. Martin waits until Nadia hands the phone back. You can't negotiate credits on behalf of the hotel. I negotiated with myself, she says. You should try it. Things move faster. He walks away before his face chooses an answer. At 6:30, Harbor House's doors open on time. Nadia stands in the east foyer greeting donors while a server pins her second earring back into place. The ballroom looks untouched. 400 chairs face the stage. White roses sit beneath the amber lights. The auction screens roll through weekend packages and restaurant certificates as if no one tried to dismantle them 52 minutes earlier. In the West Gallery, Alden's reception begins 6 minutes late. Caroline accepts the delay in exchange for 2 extra past appetizers and a private room for her keynote in Juniper. She gives instructions without raising her voice. Her crew trusts her enough to tell her the truth, which looks almost exotic from where I am standing. At 6:50, she catches me counting place settings in the conservatory. "You're short 12 chairs," she says. 8. The last 4 are behind the drape. "You're short 12. I count again. She is right. "You want a job?" I ask. "Tonight, I want a chair." We take 12 from the closed restaurant patio and wipe the rain from their backs with cocktail napkins. They are a shade darker than the banquet chairs. Under the charcoal sashes, nobody will notice unless they are crawling around under tables, in which case Alden has larger concerns. At 7:12, the conservatory doors close for the general session. 286 people sit at crescents, facing a stage that did not exist an hour earlier. Then the keynote's presentation disappears. The center screen goes blue. A wireless microphone coughs once. Caroline's technician is already running toward the control table when Martin says, too loudly, "That's the temporary power." It is not. I look at the rear screens. The confidence monitor still shows the keynote slide. Power is fine. Signal is not. "Switcher," I say. The technician checks the video switcher. Someone has set it to input 4. Input 4 is empty. He changes it to input 2, and the presentation returns before the keynote reaches the stage. Martin studies the control table as if it personally betrayed him. Caroline looks at me. "Was that your boss?" I didn't see. I did. She says nothing else, neither do I. There are 286 guests in the room, and vindication is less important than keeping the first speaker from walking onto a blue screen. I spend the next 3 hours moving between events through the service corridor. In the ballroom, Harbor House raises enough money to reopen 2 floors of its transitional residence for adult women. In the conservatory, Alden gives 27 etched glass awards to regional staff, while rain flickers silver against the windows. The kitchen plates both dinners from the same hot line, salmon moving east and short ribs moving west, every rack labeled in Theo's block handwriting. Martin stays visible. He welcomes late arrivals, finds a charger for an Alden executive, and replaces a Harbor House donor's spilled drink before the donor sees the stain. If someone had entered the hotel after 7:30, they would have thought he was the reason everything worked. Near 10, I find him in the ballroom entrance speaking to one of Harbor House's trustees. "Our team thrives under pressure," he is saying. "Claire and I developed an alternate space plan as soon as we identified the overlap." The trustee touches his arm. "You must be exhausted." Martin laughs. "That's hospitality." He sees me behind her. His eyes rest on my wrinkled jacket, my damp hair, the red pencil tucked over my ear. "Claire," he says warmly, "excellent execution." The trustee turns and thanks me. I say, "Nadia's final auction settlement is ready in the office." Martin's smile holds until the trustee walks away. "You could let a compliment land," he says. "You could tell the truth before it. We saved both events." "We?" His gaze drops to the pencil over my ear. "Don't make tonight smaller than it was." That is the first moment I understand how he plans to survive. Not by proving he did not sell the room twice. He cannot. He will make the rescue so large and communal that the decision causing it becomes one regrettable detail. Everyone made sacrifices. Everyone adapted. Everyone won. By midnight, Alden's production truck is loaded, and Harbor House's last donor has left with a silent auction painting too large for her car. Caroline finds me beside the ballroom stage, where I am peeling tape from an extension cord. She hands me one half of my broken pencil. "I picked it up before someone cleared the table," she says. The snapped end is ragged and pale. Red lacquer stains the side of her thumb. "The other half is missing," I say. I assume the hotel charged it to my master account. I laugh before I can stop myself. Caroline puts the pencil half in my palm. "Send me the recovery invoice before Martin edits it." Accounting sends invoices. You have my email. He'll say I went around him. He sold me a room occupied by 400 people. We're already around him. She glances toward the ballroom entrance. Martin is helping 2 servers stack auction easels. He looks generous, sleeves rolled up, carrying more than anyone asked him to carry. Did he really switch the video input? I ask. Yes. Why? To make the conservatory look unreliable, or to make you look lucky. I'm not sure which. That seems petty for him. Petty people don't build careers like his. She slides her folio under her arm. Strategic people do petty things when the room stops agreeing with them. Nadia joins us, barefoot, carrying both shoes in one hand. I've reached the phase of the evening where footwear is an oppressive institution. She notices the pencil piece in my palm. "Keep that," she says. "It's a broken pencil." So was tonight. Caroline's driver calls from the west entrance. Before leaving, she takes out her signed order and photographs it beside mine. Nadia does the same with Harbor House's deposit receipt and final revision. Martin watches from across the room. His face does not change. But the next morning, the red banquet binder disappears from the event office. The binder lives on the shelf above my desk. It is ugly, overfilled, and too large to lose by accident. Every current banquet event order goes into it after the morning meeting. Superseded pages receive a red slash across the corner, so no server mistakes them for the active revision. When I come in at 10, there is a new black binder in its place. Inside are clean copies of every event order from the weekend. No red marks, no distribution initials, no handwritten notes from kitchen, stewarding, or security. Caroline's order is not included. I find Martin in his office with the connecting door open. "Where's the red binder?" He does not look up from his laptop. "Good morning." "Good morning. Where is it?" I ask sales to standardize our files. It's an operations binder. It's a mess. It's a working record. It was a working record. It's now archived. Where? He closes the laptop. "Do you plan to question every process improvement?" "Only the ones that happen 12 hours after you blame me for your override." His office door is open to the executive hall. 2 sales managers are at the copier. They both become deeply interested in paper. Martin stands and closes the door. "You are very close to mishandling this," he says. "I want the binder returned. You want a prop. I want the record my departments use." "Your departments?" I feel the trap after I step into it. He sits again. "The weekend exposed gaps in our event control process. I'm reviewing them. The gap had your signature under it, and yet conflicting documents reached the floor. Because you issued one of them. You're emotional. I'm tired. Then take the day. I'm scheduled. Not anymore." My phone buzzes before he finishes. The scheduling system has removed me from Monday's client review and Tuesday's menu tasting. Thursday's site tour vanishes next. "You cut my meetings." I'm creating space for a reset. A reset from what? From the perception that you lost control. I stare at him. Whose perception? He turns the laptop toward me. An incident report fills the screen. Under primary cause, he has written, "Event coordinator failed to reconcile duplicate tentative holds during transition to new sales procedures. Harbor House was never tentative. There are no new sales procedures." Under corrective action, he has written that all future room assignments require management review. Below it is a blank line for my signature. "You blamed me in writing." I documented a process failure. "You invented one." Martin folds his hands. "Read the whole thing." Near the bottom, under additional development, is a recommendation that I be considered for acting director of events after completing a 90-day performance plan. For 3 months, he has known I wanted that position. I had stopped asking because every answer became next quarter, after renovations, when ownership releases the salary. Now it sits on his screen close enough to touch. You sign, he says. We treat Saturday as a shared administrative failure. You complete the plan. I put you in the director's office by fall. And if I don't? This document goes forward without your acknowledgement. The opportunity doesn't. He offers me a pen. It is blue, the same shade as the signature on Caroline's override. I leave it on his desk. Outside his office, the copier has finished, but both sales managers are still standing beside it. One of them, Celeste, holds a single sheet of paper against her chest. You can go in, I tell her. I was waiting for staples. The stapler's on Martin's desk. She looks at the closed door, then down the hallway. I'll come back. By lunch, everyone knows there's an incident report. Nobody asks what it says. At a hotel, silence travels faster than gossip because silence wears a uniform and looks busy. My desk has been cleared of active client folders. The new black binder sits above it with its blank, immaculate pages. I take it down, open it to the Harbor House event order, and compare the revision number with the final order in my email. The binder contains Revision 5. We executed Revision 7. Revision 6 added the sponsor wall. Revision 7 added 42 guests and changed Harbor House from plated cheesecake to the auction dessert stations that required protected freight elevator access. Without those revisions, it looks as if the gala was smaller, softer, easier to move. Celeste appears in the doorway holding 2 coffees. I brought you the one with oat milk. I don't drink oat milk. Then I brought myself 2 coffees. She puts one on my desk anyway. Celeste sold more weddings last year than the rest of the team combined. She also cries whenever she watches a room reveal, then bills for every chair sash. Martin likes her because she can turn panic into an upgrade. You knew Alden wanted the ballroom, I say. She turns the coffee cup until the seam faces away from her. I knew they were looking at us. You prepared their order. I entered information Martin gave me. Did you tell him Harbor House was definite? Her eyes meet mine. He knew. Did you tell him? I sent the space report. That isn't what I asked. She pushes the unwanted coffee closer to me. Claire, he said he was moving Harbor House to the conservatory after the certificate came through. He said Nadia had agreed in principle. She hadn't. I know that now. You printed the exception because he dictated it. And then he signed it. She says it so quietly I almost miss the anger underneath. Will you put that in writing? No. Her answer is immediate. Celeste, I have a mortgage and a sales pipeline tied to this place. I'm not signing up to become your supporting document. You think that report stops with me? I think you're the name on it. For now. She takes one of the coffees and leaves the other. When I finally try it, it tastes like wet cardboard with cinnamon, but I drink all of it. My schedule for the week shrinks to internal work, linen inventory, menu file cleanup, archive labeling. The agency staff from Saturday cost more than my lost overtime for the month. Martin makes sure I know both numbers. Theo becomes careful around me. He still says good morning. He still leaves the best staff meal container on the bottom shelf of the banquet refrigerator because he knows I hate mushrooms. But whenever I ask about Saturday, his eyes travel toward the nearest camera. On Wednesday, I catch him changing the paper roll in the service corridor printer. Did you keep the captain's packet? He tears the plastic wrapper into a neat strip. Packets go in the binder. The binder's gone. I heard. You initialed Revision 7 at lineup. I initial a lot of paper. Theo. He pushes the empty cardboard tube into recycling. Martin asked how many agency shifts I want next month. The answer lands between us. Theo's regular staff hours have been thinning since renovation closed the restaurant 3 nights a week. Agency shifts are how he fills the gaps for his team, and Martin approves everyone. I'm not asking you to lose work, I say. Yes, you are. You just don't get to call it that. He walks away carrying the new roll under his arm. I stand beside the printer until it goes into sleep mode. The worst part is that he is right. Caroline emails asking for the recovery invoice. I send accounting standard statement and copy Martin. 43 minutes later, he calls me into his office. You do not communicate with Alden without approval. She asked for her invoice. Accounting handles. Invoicing. Accounting copied me. You were removed from client contact. I was removed from meetings. Do you want to argue phrasing or do you want to keep your job? He has moved the incident report to the corner of his desk. My signature line is still blank. I want the false report corrected. You want your interpretation adopted. Harbor House paid its deposit first. You signed Alden's exception later. Those aren't interpretations. Martin leans back. He looks tired now, not theatrically tired. The skin beneath his eyes is gray and there is a small shaving cut near his collar. The ownership group receives monthly numbers on Friday, he says. We missed the renovation forecast by 11%. If Alden walks, the lender requires an additional operating reserve. That money comes from somewhere. Then you should have sold them an available room. There wasn't one. So you sold mine. It is not your ballroom. No, it belonged to the client who paid for it. He rubs the bridge of his nose. Do you think I enjoyed Saturday? I don't know what you enjoy anymore. His hand drops. For 1 second, he looks hurt. It is almost enough to rearrange the room. Martin hired me after my last hotel's banquet director described me as technically excellent but resistant to flexible leadership. He told me flexible leadership often meant somebody senior wanted a witness to bend first. I thought he understood the difference between being difficult and refusing to lie. Maybe he did understand. Maybe that was why he picked me. You would be very good in the director role, he says. Then recommend me without making me confess to your mistake. I can't promote someone who escalates conflict with a general manager. You escalated it when you brought the second client into a dressed ballroom. His mouth hardens. The offer expires Friday. He sends the report to personnel Thursday morning without my signature. A copy appears in my employee portal under performance documentation. The phrase resistant to real-time direction shows up twice. By afternoon, 3 upcoming site tours have been reassigned to Celeste. She stops at my desk before the last one. I didn't ask for these. You took them. What should I do, cancel? No, sell the rooms once. She flinches, then recovers. You're making it very easy for him to call you hostile. I'm helping him with his documentation. That's what I mean. She leaves carrying the Grand Ballroom key on its heavy brass tag. I watch it swing from her fingers. The key is not supposed to leave the event office without being logged. Renovation contractors kept borrowing it and forgetting to return it, so I started a sign-out sheet on a clipboard beside the cabinet. Date, name, time out, time in, purpose. Martin borrowed it for the Alden walkthrough. The clipboard is no longer beside the cabinet. I find it downstairs at security beneath a stack of parking validations. The current sheet is clean. The prior sheet has been folded behind it instead of filed. Thursday, 2:14 p.m. Martin Vale, prospective client tour. Returned at 3:02. Harbor House's sponsor wall delivery log shows Nadia's photographer signed out at 1:47. The wall was already on stage when Martin entered. I take pictures of both logs with my phone. Then I stand there looking at them, feeling nothing like victory. They prove he saw the setup. They do not prove what he thought, what he promised, or why he believed he could erase me from the space between those facts. Records are smaller than truth. Sometimes smaller is useful. Sometimes it is just small. Need something? The security supervisor asks. Old loading times. Those sheets go to night audit on Fridays. Can I make a copy? He shrugs. It's your clipboard. It was my clipboard when it was useful to the hotel. I do not ask what it is now. Nadia calls while I'm at the copier. I received a revised banquet invoice, she says. There's a service recovery credit. That's good. It's labeled Event Coordination Adjustment. I close my eyes. How much? Exactly the amount of your overtime and the agency premium. He has turned my labor into the cost of my failure. What did Martin tell you? I ask. That you had entered Harbor House as tentative during a software transition, but he didn't want internal personnel issues to distract from the partnership. There was no software transition. I assumed. Did you? A pause. Nadia exhales. I assumed after I opened your deposit confirmation, your final order, and the apology email where he managed not to say what he was apologizing for. Are you paying the balance? Not yet. Don't withhold it because of me. I'm withholding it because my organization paid for a ballroom, then watched a man try to use an employee as the cancellation policy. That evening, Caroline forwards me a message Martin sent her directly. He offers Alden a future discount if she will sign a mutual resolution statement describing the conflict as a system-generated duplication. Her response contains one sentence. Please identify the system that signed your name. Beneath it, she writes to me, he is trying to separate us. Nadia receives a different version. Martin tells her Alden's last-minute demands force the room conflict and suggests Harbor House could preserve its discount by avoiding public allegations. They compare emails without me prompting them. For the first time since Saturday, the pressure moves away from my desk. Martin notices. The next day, I arrive to find the night auditor, Eli, standing in the event office with the red binder open on my desk. Not the new black one. The old red one. Its cover is bent near the rings. A white inventory label has been stuck over the word banquets. Martin stands beside him. We're reconstructing the archive, Martin says. Eli keeps his eyes on the pages. What needs reconstructing? I ask. Distribution timestamps. Some were entered after the fact. No, they weren't. Martin flips to Harbor House Revision 7. The red slash crosses the superseded cover page. Department initials run down the margin with times beside them. He points at Theo's initials. This says 3:40. That was Friday lineup. The digital file was printed at 3:52. Then it was a reprint. Or the time was recorded incorrectly. Eli shifts his weight. Martin slides the page toward him. Night Audit can annotate the archive with the system time. That would make the handwritten distribution time look false, I say. It would make the file internally consistent. By changing the paper record, by correcting it. Eli steps away from the desk. I can attach the print log. I'm not writing on an event order I didn't distribute. Martin's voice stays mild. You routinely reconcile timestamps on folios, not signatures. The room goes still. Martin closes the binder. Leave it with me. Eli does. By the time I finish inventory downstairs, the binder has disappeared again. Theo is waiting in the service pantry. He has a captain's black apron folded over one arm. Without looking at me, he lifts the magnetic clip beneath the prep schedule and removes a packet of folded pages. I kept it because Revision 7 had the loading sequence, he says. After Saturday, Martin asked me to initial Revision 5 with Sunday's date. Did you? No. He hands me the packet. His initials sit beside the kitchen manager's, security's, stewarding's, and mine. The print footer reads 331. The sponsor wall is listed under setup notes. The freight elevator hold is highlighted red. You said packets go in the binder. I lied. Why? Because you asked me in a hallway with 2 cameras and no plan. That is fair enough to hurt. I have one now, I say. You have 2 clients who haven't paid. That isn't a plan. That's a hostage situation with centerpieces. I'm not asking them to withhold payment. Maybe you should start asking for things. Caroline and Nadia already have. Their combined outstanding balances are just under $240,000. Neither disputes the food, labor, bar charges, or equipment. They dispute the hotel's written explanation and the recovery terms attached to it. Together, they request one reconciliation meeting in the Grand Ballroom. Both client teams, Martin, department representatives, and someone from the ownership group who can authorize corrections. Martin accepts because refusing would look worse on Friday's revenue report. The meeting is set for 4 o'clock. At 3:57, I enter the ballroom carrying Theo's service packet, photographs of the key and delivery logs, Nadia's deposit confirmation, and the broken half of my red pencil. The room is bare, except for one long table where the sponsor wall stood. Martin is already seated at the head of it, his blue pen aligned with a fresh copy of my incident report. He has printed it on heavier paper than our event orders. The report sits in front of him like a menu he expects me to approve. Beside it are a yellow legal pad and the leather folder he carries to ownership meetings. He is prepared for numbers, which means he still believes numbers belong to him. I choose a chair halfway down the table. Theo enters with Eli and takes the 2 seats nearest the service door. Celeste comes in alone, holding a notebook against her ribs. She does not look at me. Caroline arrives with Alden's finance director and counsel from its contracting department. Nadia brings Harbor House's board treasurer and a banker's box that turns out to contain 1 folder, a bottle of water, and both gold earrings. The last person through the doors is Dana Rusk, the asset manager assigned to the Briarwood by its ownership group. She has visited through most of the renovation, usually wearing a hard hat over immaculate silver hair and asking why an invoice says field condition when the field condition is a wall everyone knew existed. Martin stands. Dana, thank you for coming. She puts a renovation ledger and a calculator on the table. I was already coming for the monthly review. I moved it up 6 hours. That takes some polish off his greeting. Dana sits opposite me, not at the head. I understand 2 clients have outstanding balances, and 1 employee has disputed a performance report. My goal is to establish what happened, what is owed, and what the hotel must correct. Martin opens his folder. I prepared a timeline. So did we, Caroline says. Dana looks at her. You'll have your turn. I'm counting on it. Martin begins with the renovation. He explains the revenue shortfall, the conservatory delay, the need to secure multi-year corporate business. All of it is true. He presents Alden as a time-sensitive opportunity and Harbor House as an event whose attendance expanded beyond its early estimate. He describes parallel tentative entries that were not properly reconciled when our sales procedures changed. Then he reaches Saturday. When the duplicate became apparent, I directed Claire to initiate a room conversion. She resisted the initial instruction in front of clients, which escalated an operational matter into a contractual confrontation. Caroline tilts her head. Your initial instruction was for her to apologize and strip a dressed ballroom. Martin keeps his eyes on Dana. Emotions were high. Mine weren't. Caroline, Dana says, let him finish. He does. In Martin's version, the conservatory solution comes from a collaborative team response under his leadership. He approves every cost, manages both client relationships, and keeps an overstretched employee from making a scheduling error worse. The incident report is not punishment. It is a developmental tool. When he finishes, Dana flips back 2 pages in her notes. Who entered Harbor House as tentative? Sales. Celeste's shoulders lift. Dana looks at her. Is that accurate? Celeste opens her notebook. Harbor House was entered as tentative when the proposal went out. It changed to definite when the deposit posted in January. Did it ever return to tentative? No. Martin says the system status did not reflect ongoing conversations about alternate space. Nadia opens the only folder in her box. What conversations? He turns toward her. We had discussed the possibility of using the conservatory. You mentioned during a site visit that the conservatory would be beautiful when finished. I said I hoped to attend an event there someday. My understanding was that you were open to relocation. My understanding was that we were discussing windows. Caroline places her signed event order on the table. Martin's blue signature is visible from my chair. This is the document I received 11 days before the event, she says. It assigns Alden the Grand Ballroom and identifies an existing charitable function as a soft hold that management may displace. Dana pulls the order closer. Who wrote the exception? Celeste clears her throat. I typed it. Under whose direction? Martin dictated it. He turns to her. You're leaving out the sales meeting. I sent you the space report in the sales meeting. You said Harbor House would accept the conservatory because you and Nadia had an understanding. Dana looks at Nadia. We did not. Martin puts one palm on the table. The intention was to move Harbor House after final inspection. That plan became impractical when its attendance grew. Nadia sets down her deposit receipt. Our attendance passed the conservatory's banquet capacity 3 weeks before you signed Alden's order. I was not given that information. I slide Harbor House Revision 7 toward Dana. You were copied on the final count. Martin barely glances at it. I receive hundreds of emails, and you wrote "nice work, see to us" on the pickup report. I complimented fundraising progress. That doesn't mean I audited every operational implication. Caroline taps her event order. You didn't need to audit anything. You signed an exception saying you were displacing an existing function. Who approved that? I did. Based on what? My management judgment. Then identify the approval. I just did. No, you told Claire she booked the wrong night. You told me the software duplicated the space. You told Nadia Alden created the conflict with last-minute demands. Now you're saying it was your judgment. Which approval are we paying for? Martin's gaze moves around the table. He finds fewer places to rest it than he expected. Caroline pushes the order back to him. Read your override. He does not touch it. Dana waits. Finally, Martin reads the exception aloud. He stops before his name. Caroline says, "Keep going." He reads his signature and the date. The sound is smaller than I imagined. Just a man saying his own name in a room he sold twice. Martin closes the event order. I have never denied signing it. You denied what the signature meant, Nadia says. You used Claire's name for the difference. He looks at me then. Claire had responsibility for event reconciliation. Not after a management override, I say. I couldn't reconcile a document you didn't distribute. I assumed sales had. Celeste's notebook hits the table. You told me not to circulate it until Harbor House agreed to move. Martin turns toward her slowly. She swallows but continues. Then you said you would handle Nadia directly. I should have followed up. I didn't. That part is mine. Dana writes something. Martin says, so we agree there were multiple failures. I agreed to mine, Celeste says. I didn't agree to Claire's. My service packet passes from my hands to Dana's. She examines the print footer, the revision number, and the initials down the margin. This is the active Harbor House order? Yes. The replacement binder contains Revision 5, I say. This is Revision 7, distributed Friday at lineup. Martin opens his hands, which proves the document process lacked control. Theo speaks from near the door. The process had control. The red binder showed current and superseded copies. The replacement binder removed the distribution marks. Why was your packet outside the binder? Dana asks. Theo looks at Martin, then at me. Because Martin asked me to initial Revision 5 after the event. I kept the real packet under a pantry magnet. You hid hotel records? Martin asks. I preserved a service copy. You hid it. From you, yes. Dana raises a hand before Martin can answer. Eli, why were you in the event office Friday? Eli shifts forward. Martin wanted Night Audit to annotate the handwritten distribution time with a later digital print time. It was a timestamp reconciliation, Martin says. I offered to attach the print log, Eli says. He wanted the paper time corrected, because the paper was inconsistent. The footer on Theo's copy matches the earlier print, I say. The digital log Martin showed Eli was a reprint. Dana compares the packet to her notes. Why did the original binder leave operations? Standardization, Martin says. Where is it now? He takes a breath. My office. Return it today. He nods once. I put the photographs of the key sheet and sponsor wall delivery log beside the event orders. Martin sees them and sits back. You signed out the Grand Ballroom key at 2:14 on Thursday, I say. Harbor House's sponsor wall was installed before 2. You took Alden through the ballroom while Harbor House's name was on the stage. That proves I toured the room. It proves you saw the gala set up before signing Alden's final revision. It proves no such thing. The signature may have occurred later. Caroline opens her folio and removes an email printout. You sent the signed order from your phone at 2:47 during our walkthrough. Your message says, "Delighted to welcome Alden into this room." Dana places the email beside the key log. There it is. The ballroom key, the sponsor wall, the signed order. 3 ordinary records that become a sentence when laid together. Martin presses his thumb against the edge of his legal pad. "We needed the contract," he says. His voice has changed. The patient warmth is gone, and for the first time he sounds like the man who spoke to me behind the pipe and drape. The hotel needed revenue. The ownership group made that clear. The renovation exceeded forecast, the lender reserve was exposed, and Alden represented 3 years of repeat business. I made a calculated decision that Harbor House could be relocated after inspection. Then its count grew and inspection ran late. Dana's expression remains level. I told you to improve conversion. I did not tell you to sell definite space. You told me the reserve gap was unacceptable. It was. So I closed business. You closed the same room twice. He gestures toward the ballroom, and both events occurred. Both clients received their programs. Claire executed the recovery because she is exceptionally good at her job. The compliment lands exactly where he intends. He looks at me when he says it. I offered to make her director. Dana glances at the incident report. After documenting that she failed at a basic duty, it was a development plan. It was a trade, I say. Martin's face goes still. He offered me the director position if I signed the report and described Saturday as a shared administrative failure. Dana turns to him. Did you? I explained that advancement requires judgment and discretion. What discretion did she fail to exercise? The discretion not to turn a corrected operational problem into this. He motions at the table, the clients, the service packet, Dana's calculator, the whole inconvenient room. Nadia leans back. This exists because you tried to bill your decision to her reputation. We are discussing financial resolution, Martin says, not slogans. Good, Caroline says. Let's discuss money. She places Alden's disputed charges beside Nadia's. Between them, the balances total a little under $240,000. Alden will pay its food, beverage, equipment, tax, and agreed labor charges, Caroline says. We will also pay the conservatory rental at the contracted ballroom rate because the space functioned and the hotel's operating team earned it. Martin looks surprised despite himself. We will not sign a statement calling this a system duplication, she continues. We require a written account identifying the management override, confirmation that Claire did not create it, and a documented approval process for any future space displacement. Nadia takes over. Harbor House will pay under the same conditions. The service recovery credit stays, but it will not be labeled an event coordination adjustment. Call it what it was. Duplicate space recovery. Our clients don't set personnel policy, Martin says. No, Dana says. I do. The room settles around that sentence. She closes Martin's report and slides it away from him. This document does not go into final personnel status. Claire will have an opportunity to submit a written response, and ownership will review the underlying records. It has already been filed, I say. Then it will be marked disputed today. Martin's hand remains beside his blue pen. Dana continues. Until the review is complete, all space exceptions require my approval. Martin, you are removed from Event Contracting Authority. You'll provide your files and current pipeline before you leave this afternoon. This afternoon? You'll remain available off-property. He looks as if she has spoken in a language he understands, but never expected to hear directed at him. Then he looks at me. You got what you wanted. I think of my missing meetings, the altered invoice label, Theo waiting beneath a pantry magnet because I asked him for truth before I had somewhere safe to put it. Not yet, I say. Dana looks at me. What do you want? A written correction sent to both client teams and every department that received the incident explanation, restoration of my lost meetings and overtime, removal of the performance report, not a permanent disputed flag, dual approval before definite space can be displaced, operations copied when sales issues an exception. I pause, and I don't return to client responsibility while Martin controls my evaluations. Dana writes each item down. The review will determine the last one, she says. No, the review can determine Martin's position. My boundary doesn't need to. Martin gives a short, bitter laugh. There's the flexibility problem. I look at him. You were the first person who told me that phrase meant someone senior wanted a witness to bend first. His expression flickers. I trusted you to fix this, he says. You trusted me to carry it. Dana asks him for his key card. He places it beside the blue pen. The review takes 19 days. For the first week, I label linen inventory and answer no client calls. Dana offers to make me acting director on the third day. I decline until the correction arrives in writing and the report disappears from my portal. It takes 6 more days. Ownership finds 2 smaller space overrides from the renovation period. Neither caused a double event because sales coordinators moved the tentative clients in time. Both use language that made the original coordinators responsible for inventory reconciliation. Martin loses his position for the pattern and for altering the internal explanation after Saturday. He leaves the Briarwood with 3 banker's boxes and the same leather folder he brought to the meeting. Through the office window, I watch him return the brass Grand Ballroom key to security before walking to his car. He does not look up. Caroline pays Alden's corrected balance the day the letter arrives. Nadia pays Harbor Houses the next morning and adds a handwritten note to the remittance. For the room we actually bought. Celeste keeps her pipeline. She also begins attaching space reports to every signed exception, with the client status highlighted so aggressively the pages look sunburned. Theo receives permanent authority over banquet staffing and tells me his first management initiative is banning decorative chair knots that require a sailor and a theology degree. I accept the director position only after the dual approval policy is signed. The following spring, Harbor House returns to the Grand Ballroom. Nadia's new sponsor wall goes up at 1:45. Caroline attends as a sponsor and checks the electrical circuit before I can. Theo complains that 400 napkins have been folded in the wrong direction, then fixes one and leaves the rest because he has finally learned delegation. Before doors open, I place a laminated copy of Martin's override in the training binder. Beside it, I tape the broken half of my old red pencil. The new one rests over my ear. At the end of the night, after the auction screens go dark and the last white rose is carried out, I sign the brass key back to myself, lock the empty ballroom, and draw one clean red line through the final event order.